Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on this Crow course. Crow is one of the first arm balances that I got, one that is probably the first for most people. So it's near and dear to my heart as I am now a full-blown arm balance addict. So I'm really happy to be able to share my love of arm balances with you. I really hope that you take something away from this. I've tried really hard to design this in such a way that I feel like it will be beneficial to you outside of just learning Crow. Eventually building into more advanced poses like handstands and pinches and things like that, which I hope to be able to share with your journey in those poses in the future as well. What I would like to ask for you to do today is to take the time to make a before video. This doesn't have to be something that you post on social media. It doesn't have to be something that you share with anyone other than yourself. And then either talk to the camera and make a little journal entry of how you feel, or physically write it down. Just talk about what your goals are, long term, short term, whether it's to be able to hold Crow for the first time, to be able to hold it for a longer amount of time, to be able to incorporate it into your practice, to not have your wrists hurt after practice, and then as well as how you feel when you're in Crow. Maybe one of your goals can be to even not make physical progress, but to feel more comfortable in the pose, to feel more joy and less panic, or whatever emotions that you have, to turn them into a more positive place in your life. Week over week, I'll ask you to re-record a progress video that you can keep to yourself or share. It's something that's been really helpful to me. I watch back my videos and I say, oh, I didn't even realize that I was sagging in my shoulders there. And then the next time that I go to try that posture or that sequence, I can put a little bit of extra attention into that. I'm going to say it today. I'm going to say it every single day. Warming up your wrists is super important. This is an area of your body that's probably not used to bearing a ton of weight, possibly not at that intense of an angle for that long. So the one thing that you can do to help yourself to have a really healthy, long-lasting arm balance practice is warm up your wrists. Outside of wrist-specific drills is overall just warm up your body. Go out and do some jumping jacks, work around the house, get your heart rate up. If you have a heart rate monitor or a watch that keeps track of your heart rate, make sure that it's elevated for a while. You want to feel like you can take off your sweatshirt and take off your socks and things like that. You want to be nice and warm, and that will help to make your wrists warm as well too. But let's dive into some wrist-specific drills. You can use all of these, some of these, repeat them, mix and match, whatever works for you. But just please make sure that you're really well warmed up before you start any of the videos, because we want you to stay safe. Before I even start weight bearing, I like to do some exercises off of my wrists first. So you've got where you can open and close your hands, and you can move your wrists up and down as you do this. This isn't just random kind of throw it at the wall type of thing. This is really pushing your fingers out as much as you can, flicking them like you have water on them, like something sticky that you want to take off of them. So flick, open, move it around. Get the range of motion going in your wrists here. And you will start to feel the heat in your forearms and in your wrists. You've got wrist circles, and you can do this in a couple of different ways. So with your fingers open, and make sure that you try to go the other way. One way is always easier for me than the other way. Next, we've got wrist circles by making a fist. You can do this really controlled by grabbing onto your arm to support it to make sure that all of the movement is coming from the wrist. So we're really trying to lock it in there. Draw a nice big circle, as big as you comfortably can. And then, like I said, go the other direction too. Just make sure you're on the mat now, buddy. And then, of course, you want to repeat on the other side. And there's no need to rush here. For me, this feels really good. I can feel the individual little muscles and tendons that feel like they're getting stretches. It's really nice to slow down and give your wrists this extra attention before you get started. Next up, you're going to want to take your hand and bend your fingertips back towards the back of your arm. I'll roll this up. Towards the back of your arm as much as you can. And then take your wrist as far forward as you can. So you can do that with fingers bent in, but make sure that the motion first comes through your wrists and then play with the fingers. You'll get some different sensations as you move through these ranges of motion. So slowly all the way back and slowly all the way forward. And then of course repeat on the other side. So all the way forward, all the way back. And like I said, just kind of play around with those fingers and see what feels good for you. Whatever feels interesting. Shouldn't hurt, but if you find something that feels interesting, maybe linger there for a little while. Next, you can move your wrist in kind of holding a pizza and you're spinning it around. So you're getting some movement. Next, you can assist in a little stretch manually. So you can take each of your fingers, give them a little bend back. So you can see that that movement is coming from my wrist and then being extended through my fingers. Don't forget your thumb, that's one of your fingers too. And then you can take the entire hand and give it a gentle pull downwards. Again, all of this should feel really pretty good, like a nice gentle stretch, no pain. If you feel any pain, choose a different exercise. All right, so now if you're feeling like you're ready to do a little bit of weight bearing, you can get into a tabletop position. So in the same way that we're kind of flicking our wrists open, now this time we're going to flick our wrists up. And you can take a lot of your weight into your legs by doing this. So looking forward, and you push, push. So receive, and I bend into my elbows when I receive, and then I push and flick down, push. This is a really good one for building some heat. It uses your core as well. So this next one is one that I do literally anytime that I step on my mat. In a tabletop position, and you can take your pointer finger and thumb and point it more towards the front of the mat to relieve a little bit off of your wrists. Whereas if you spin your elbow creases in, that's going to make it more intense. If you spin your hands out a little bit more, that's going to be better for when you're warming up, a little easier to deal with. So from here, once you've got yourself set up nice and comfortably, you're going to start taking your shoulders and making circles over your wrists. So just make a really small circle forward, maybe even with your wrists, and then circle back and take some of the weight off. Now you're going to go in the other direction, of course. Circle around. And then as you start to feel the heat build, take your shoulders a little bit more forward. So maybe towards the middle knuckle of your hand. And you can see as you're here that you're receiving a lot of the weight into your fingertips. It's kind of coming off of the palms of your hand and going more so onto your fingertips as the brakes. This is going to be a really important skill that we have in crow as well. So this is good practice and warms up your wrists. So now that you've become comfortable with that, take a bigger circle if it feels good. You can go all the way over so that your shoulders are pushing towards your fingertips or even past. This will help with Lolasana prep, as well as getting your wrists more comfortable for a crane, which will force you to push your shoulders past your fingertips. So that's a really good way to warm up, but make sure that you're doing it intentionally. With any type of mobility exercise, you can watch someone go through the same type of motion and reap less benefit from it by being less intentional and just kind of racing through it. The slower that you go and the more that you feel into it, the more that you'll get the benefit out of it. Another great thing that you can do once your wrists are already warmed up to build a little bit more strength is going to be your classic plank. So after your wrists are warmed up and you feel like you can take some weight into them, stepping into your nice strong plank pose. From your plank, you can start to do a little lean. So driving with your feet after you're already nice and warm and receiving with your fingertips, and then pushing with your fingertips and receiving into your feet, back and forth. Again, this will help with your core, which we really need for our crow. It will also help with the pushing of the weight past your shoulders, which will be great when it comes to doing things like crane and crow presses and all of those more advanced crow moves. So if you can start building up that strength in your core and in your shoulders and in your wrists all at the same time by doing plank, it's a good multifaceted exercise to do. So please, at the beginning of every one of your practices, take the time to properly warm up your wrists. If they feel like they are not warm, pause what you're doing, go back and give them some extra love. Because like I said, wrist longevity is the name of the game here. Again, thank you so much for joining. Don't forget to do your wrist warm up, and I really hope that you enjoy the journey here.